Welcome to No Place Like Home, the radio show, coming to you on WRXB 1590 AM, 96.5 FM, and Pinellas County Connection TV. This program is presented to you as an opportunity to hear information that can help you fulfill the dream of owning your very own home. We also share information about upcoming special events and programs to help you enjoy the good life in Pinellas County, as well as other items of interest. The sponsor of this program is the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County, which offers the First-Time Homebuyers Program. I'm Karmen Lemberg alongside Julian Hills, your host for today's show. Good morning, Julian. How are you?
Good morning, Karmen. Can you believe it's already February?
No. I was counting down to Christmas, and now it's all over, and I'm counting down again.
I know. It feels like the New Year just was a few days ago.
It really was.
It does, I know. Well, February is an exciting month here in Pinellas County. We got a lot of good, fun events going on in the new year.
Oh, yeah, lots going on.
Yeah, one of the things that I just wanted to make sure our listeners knew about was later this month on February 26th, Solid Waste is hosting Eco Fun Fest, and it sounds a little interesting, but it's actually very interesting. Our solid waste facility does really great things as far as producing energy and recycling, and I think it's something that our listeners especially would probably want to know. If they want to find out more about it, the event will be going on Sunday, February 26th, rain or shine, and they can look it up online at pinellascounty.org/ecofunfest to get all the details.
Well, now, I have to say, before the show, you were telling me about how many homes a day that they power. How many was that?
I think they create enough energy by using our trash to power 40,000 homes a day.
That is incredible.
It is pretty incredible. So if people want to find out more about it, they can go to Eco Fun Fest.
Oh, that is really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, no problem. And before you introduce our guest, Karmen has a message from our sponsor.
Thank you. The Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County is offering the First-Time Homebuyers Program, your key to home ownership, helping people in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make their dreams of owning their home a reality. The First-Time Homebuyers Program is for individuals who have never owned a home, have not owned a home in the last 3 years, or veterans. The HFA offers a low rate on its 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, and if you need a little help with down payment and closing costs, we can help with that. To get your key to home ownership, visit www.pinellascounty.org/HFA as in Housing Finance Authority. On the right-hand side of the page, there's little pictures. The first one says First-Time Homebuyers, What to Know, and that's what you want to click on. Keep watching for updates on our new program that's coming out soon, Housing Floridians. For more information or comments about the show, call us at 727-223-6419 or email newhome@pinellashfa.com. Julian?
Well, like I said, it's still early in the year, so I know lots of people are making lots of changes. So today we're going to talk about home improvements, actually.
This is such a great program. I got to tell you, I'm excited to be telling people about it.
Well, home improvements and low-interest loans are available through the Community Development and Planning Division of Pinellas County. I'm pleased to introduce our guest for today's show. Toni Rubino began her employment with Pinellas County government in January of 2008 in the Public Safety Services Emergency Medical Services Department. She transferred to the Community Development Department in November 2010 and currently is a planner overseeing the No Interest Program and the Independent Living Grant Program. Toni has contributed in the success of the Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, performed single-family home housing quality standard inspections, and multifamily project monitoring. She's also responsible for specific performance agreement servicing and training of contracted partners and nonprofit agencies. Toni has attended several training courses related to various funding source compliance guidelines, holds a certificate in community real estate development from USF, and has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. That's a mouthful. You're quite accomplished.
Thank you.
Toni, welcome to No Place Like Home.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So would you tell us a little bit about your department and give us an overview of what you guys do over there?
Certainly. Our department does a wide variety of things. We help people at risk of homelessness secure housing in safe, habitable environments. We also help with down payment assistance programs to help first-time home buyers, along with our home repair programs for low-income homeowners. We also have multifamily apartment housing that we help fund to keep affordable housing available in Pinellas County.
That's very important.
Yes.
It is. It is. I wanted to ask you one question that's non-related to the home repair program because you just brought it up. On your down payment assistance program, now I thought they didn't have to be first-time home buyers. I thought they could be just anybody.
The definition of a first-time home buyer means they haven't purchased in the past 3 years. So obviously they could have purchased in the past, but we considered a down payment assistance first-time home buyers program.
Okay, I thought you didn't have this. So I just wanted to clarify on that. And then the other thing was that you and I had talked about too is this, your home repair program is no interest.
That's correct. 0% interest on our home repair program.
So that's really, really awesome.
Yes.
So why is it important for people to improve their homes?
Well, maintaining a property that you own is very important because without the maintenance, bigger things happen. When disrepair happens and it's not fixed, we see things where people's roofs are falling in on top of their homes. We have people with mold, mildew growing under their walls.
Yeah.
Just a lot of unsavory things can happen if it's neglected. So it's best to take care of problems when they begin, and it's less expensive at that time as well.
Yeah, it is. Now, if people are looking around their homes and considering what to do, what sort of things should they be looking at?
Well, when I talk to people, some of the first things that I tell them that are most important, we want to make sure that they're living in a safe and habitable environment. And what that means to us is their roof is in good repair, their electrical systems are functioning and are up to date with code requirements. Their windows are energy efficient, so their AC isn't working double time and causing that problems as well. Of course, your AC system, ductwork, your insulation, things of that nature that are major components of the house, especially living in nice sunny Florida. Having an AC system that functions is pretty important to all of us.
Sure is. It sure is. There's no doubt about that.
And, that's very interesting because last month we did a show about air quality and all those things. And the AC system is very important to, functioning air, in your house.
Air quality
and
and keeping you healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
And like she said, mold and things like that. Those are very important things that people should really be aware of when they own a home. So this program and these improvements are more important than some people might even realize.
I think so.
So are there types of repairs or improvements that the program recommends?
Well, as I said before, the main elements are always things that we touch first. So if someone wants to take part in the program, we have to bring the house to housing quality standards, which would mean to us that, like I said, the roof system is in good repair. The electrical system doesn't have any exposed wires. It's up to code requirements. AC system's well and functioning. We have good plumbing. Things aren't backing up. Our septic tanks aren't spilling over into our backyards, things of that nature that could not only affect us but also our neighboring homes as well. Those are typically the things we touch first. We do more than that. We just don't touch things that we would consider luxury items. So we're not going to build swimming pools. We won't do things of that nature. No pretty drapes on the wall, but we'll make sure that they have a safe, habitable environment once we're finished.
Oh, you went right into my next question. So those are the types of repairs and improvements that aren't funded. So like you said, but would so no carpets or anything?
No,
like
we
that?
can do carpet. Flooring is an important component as well because, I've went out to some houses. You'll see people who actually have holes in their floors. We want to make sure they have good flooring. Carpet can get pulled from the tack strip and cause it to sag, which is a tripping hazard for people. So yes, we do replace flooring. We do paint, exterior, interior. If lead-based paint mitigation is necessary, that's something that we could do under the loan if there's enough funding available.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a pretty wide range of things available for us to do to help the homeowners get their houses up to snuff.
Well, that's good to know.
And talking about that, and I understand you have to be a homeowner to qualify for the program, and it has to be an owner-occupied residence. What other qualifications does the homeowner have to have?
We have income guidelines. The homeowner cannot have over what we consider 80% of the area median income, which is determined by HUD. This number is widely determined by the household size, so it's best for the people that are interested after this broadcast to give us a call, and we'll do a pre-screening questionnaire to determine whether or not their household is income qualified.
And is there a restriction on the loan to value? And can you explain exactly what that means to our listeners?
Certainly. A loan to value is, in simpler means, your debt versus how much the house is worth. So let's say that you owe $100,000 and the house is worth $100,000. That would be 100% loan to value ratio. We determine the household's the value of the home based off of the property appraiser's website's just market value. You can always check your just market value if you're curious about what that looks like by going on the property appraiser's website of Pinellas County and putting in your address in the search bar.
And what loan to value will the program go to? So let's say my house is $150,000 and I only owe $100,000.
That's even better, of course, because you have more equity. But our program will go up to 145% a loan-to-value ratio because of all the homeowners that are still underwater after the crisis in 2008. So we're accommodating people that have little to no equity at all so that we can assist them and get their houses where they need to be.
And plus, doing all these upgrades is going to increase the value of their home. I mean, especially the critical components, the roof, the windows, the AC.
Certainly.
So that's awesome, too. Wow.
So is the program available for investors that own rental homes and want to improve their rental properties?
Unfortunately, no. Our funding is limited to people that are homeowner-occupied residents within our income guidelines. We can't currently help people that are investors or people who own rental homes that are trying to get upgrades done in their houses.
Those. So what steps should a homeowner take if they are interested in this program? Do they start by contacting you?
Yes, you would call the Community Development and Planning Division at 727-464-8210, and you can ask them about our home repair programs. We also currently are offering an independent living program grant, which is up to $7,000. No need to pay it back. It's granted to the recipients that need accessibility improvements in their home. So if you're elderly, disabled, and you have accessibility needs in your home, that would be a great fit for you or someone who lives in your house that has issues with certain areas of the home and accessing them.
Accessibility items, what would that include?
Well, for example, some people have issues stepping over a bathtub to get in and take a bath. We would take out the bathtub and put in an accessible shower for that individual so they can it can be wheelchair accessible. We also widen doorways. If someone is hearing impaired, we can install the smoke detectors with the lights. We can do
the light activated doorbell.
You got it. The slip-proof flooring, ramps, grab bars, you name it. Anything that could help our residents with accessibility in their own home to help them stay in place.
That is so important.
So important.
And especially doing that as a grant. I mean, I know there are so many elderly people that just, they have no ability to repay anything, even if it's at a 0% interest. They just have no ability.
Right.
And they could really use the simple things. I mean, it's not simple to them. This is imperative, access to their own home, getting that ramp, being able to the grab bars to get up and down. I'm sure you also do the handicap toilets and things like that.
You got it. The higher commodes we do. you name it. We recently had a resident that couldn't bend at the waist. We had to install kitchen cabinetry high enough to where they wouldn't have to bend to get their pans and pots out of the cabinets.
That is so cool.
It's really a case-by-case basis and a need basis. So if it's considered an accessibility item, it would be covered under that grant.
And the same income restrictions apply on that program?
Certainly, up to 80% of the area median income.
Now, let's say that I'm interested. And I'm income qualified. What are the sort of steps that I have to go through then? After I contact you and you say, yay, you're income qualified, what happens next?
Well, we work through a couple nonprofit agencies. So when you call in, we refer you to one of those nonprofit agencies after you're pre-screened, and we determine that you're eligible for application. Or we can send you an application straight from our office to your home where you can fill it out, and there'll be a checklist of items that you'll need to return along with the application so that we can determine and verify your eligibility.
And what's the process for determining what needs to be done in the house? Is there an inspection, contractors come out? How does that work?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We first would find out whether or not the person's income qualified. If they pass all the income qualifications that we determine, we would then set up what we consider a feasibility inspection. We would go out to the resident's home, do our housing quality standards inspection, make sure everything's functioning properly. We'll check the permitting department, find out when the last time their roof was replaced, their AC was replaced, see how long ago that happened, so we know whether or not it's on the verge of going and not going to work anymore. We also would work on things like, let's say their stovetop isn't working or their refrigerator isn't functioning properly. We check the seals. We make sure all these things are in good order so that we have a well-rounded scope of work that needs to be done for the resident. And they also have input. If it's not a health and safety issue, it doesn't have to be done, but we want to ensure that everything that needs to get done is done.
And so the priority is placed on code first.
Correct.
And once that's taken care of and there might be some money left over, then we could look at other things like the flooring and things like that and move on from there.
Right. We've had residents with troublesome trees hanging over their roofs that, a next storm come, they could fall on the roof and damage them.
Safety hazard.
Exactly. So we can do tree trimming, we can paint exteriors of the house, replace with impact windows, so during hurricane season you're not sitting on edge wondering if a gust is going to break your windows in. There's a lot of things that come with the program that it would happen on a case-by-case basis and a need basis.
And how is the contractor chosen to do the actual work?
Well, the homeowner can select the contractor so long as the contractor is licensed and insured and not what we call on the HUD's debarment list, meaning they've been bad and got X'd out by HUD. But if they choose not to select their own contractor, the county has a job order contracting system with vetted contractors included in it, and they can also opt to do that if they don't want to go through the work of selecting their own. Through the nonprofit entities, they do a bid system where they have at least 3 contractors come out and bid on the work, and the homeowner gets to review the bids and decide which contractor best fits their needs.
And one critical question I forgot to ask up front. Is there a maximum amount of money?
Certainly. We have up to $40,000 available at 0% interest for homeowners. Depending on how much money they utilize of the loan would determine how long the loan is amortized over. The maximum payment wouldn't exceed $150 a month.
Wow. Because I know $40,000 can go a long way because I've been saving up and doing repairs myself over the last several years.
Yes.
And I did my roof, my AC, and I just finished up with windows. And that would cover all of that.
Right. It would cover a large chunk of things that needed to be done. And when you're just paying on principal alone with no interest, you're merely just making payments on something that just is life-changing to your environment.
And I can tell you it is. My energy bill, and the final piece was the windows that we put in, dropped in half.
Right.
Wow.
I went from paying $220 a month. My last bill was $96.
Not to mention, Karmen, people may be skeptical about, oh, my windows are okay, but they're not the greatest, they're rollouts. You can lose so much energy through the windows, which not only affect your energy bill, but it affects the lifespan of your AC unit. It also everything. And with those things, like you said, your power bills cut in half sometimes. And not only that, your insurance payments. When you have insurance on the house and your roof is old, your windows, your insurance is typically higher. You can get a wind mitigation inspection, a 4-point inspection once these upgrades are done. And I've seen people's insurance bills cut pretty extremely.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because every time I've done an improvement, I've contacted my insurance agent and I said, hey, I just did the roof, I just did the attic insulation, I just replaced the AC, I just finished the windows. And they've turned it in, and it's been a diminishing decrease on my insurance, but any decrease on the insurance is good since they go up so much higher every year. So it's really, really just been great.
Right.
And so people need to remember to do that too. That's like the final piece of the puzzle to help with your overall expenses. Ballpark idea. How long does the process take once they get income qualified? That can, depending on the client, take the longest. They have to get the documents in as fast as possible and not dawdle. But after that part's done.
Well, it depends which route they choose to take. If they choose to select their own contractor, it's semi in their hands. Because once the contractor contacts me, we would go over the scope of work that needs to be done. We have pictures available from our inspection that we've provided to the contractor. And we would meet with the homeowner to go over the proposal to make sure that they're comfortable with everything before we would move forward with a closing and sign the mortgage and everything to get things moving. Typically after the closing, they have, of course, the 3-day rescission to change their mind if they don't want to move forward with the transaction, and then they would start construction shortly thereafter. We give up to 90 days for the contractor to complete the construction process.
Now, the contract is between the contractor and the homeowner. It really doesn't involve the county, correct?
That's correct. If they select their own contractor, the contract is going to be between the homeowner and the contractor. If they select to go through the county's job order contracting system, the contract is between the county and the Gordian Group, which is the job order contracting oversight system.
Oh, that's good to know.
And they have the contract with the contractor, so.
Okay, that's good to know.
I was listening to you, and I was just wondering, in your experience doing this, have there been any upgrades or improvements that have been made that you didn't even, that like surprised you, that you weren't aware of before?
Yes, actually there have. I had a woman that had an ambulatory issue where she couldn't get up the steps to her home. The county was able to find a contractor that had the capability of doing a stair chair that went from the first floor all the way up, and it was a Tarpon Springs house, and if you know how those can be situated on hills, it had to be at least a 2-story up. So it was it was kind of like what I would consider an elevator.
Wow.
She wheeled her wheelchair into the area, they closed the gate, went up, and she was able to access her patio, and they had so cool, and it gave her so much more access to the outside world, and she was very grateful for the upgrade. So, like I said, some of these things are life-changing for people that, wouldn't otherwise be able to access them. And as we were talking about this lowering your light bill and your insurance bill, sometimes those costs offset the price of what you're actually paying monthly in the loan. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
It is.
Win-win. That's amazing. It's so important for our listeners especially to hear these things, because you just don't know what people are going through and what kind of help they need, and they might not know that this kind of help is available.
Well, and that is so true. I mean, I've been talking about these types of programs now for 10 years. And every time I'm out in public and I talk about whether it's the Housing Finance Authority in our programs or other counties I know of with the county, people are like, really? I had no idea. And yet, unless I'm mistaken, this home improvement program through community development has been around for 20 years.
For a very long time, and there's people that have no idea. And just recently, really interesting, through the Lealman Asian Family Center,
yes,
I received a Vietnamese only speaking client, and I was able to assist them in a home rehab program. And
Really?
it was very, very rewarding. Although there was a language barrier, I was able to find someone that spoke Vietnamese. We were able to get it done. And so people with language barriers, I don't, say, stay away because we can't understand you. We'll find someone to help you, and we will get it done.
Oh, that is so nice.
That is amazing. See, there's so much good stuff. I'm glad we have people like you to come on our show and just shine more light on these, because it's very important as we're hearing today.
Yes.
It is. So, Toni, you're going to have to put a link to the show on your website so that people, can get your nonprofits to go ahead and link to it. Get the word out to people so that people know this program is there for you.
Certainly.
It's just so cool.
And even when I'm not at work, I'm happy to talk about it because, it really is a great thing, and I want everybody to be able to take part in it if they have the ability to, and benefit from it.
What kind of advice do you have for people who are like, okay, I need this? What would you tell them to do if they hear this and when this show's over they want to contact you?
Call the office. You'll be routed to my phone. I'll pre-screen you, do everything I can. If I can't help you, I'll try to refer you to someone who can. And if I can, I have a list of people's names, and if I network and I find someone that can help you, you'll hear from me again.
Wow.
And what's that phone number, Toni?
727-464-8210.
And your website?
www.pinellscounty.org. If you click on the community development link on the main page, it'll take you right to our website. We have flyers on there that go over our home repair program guidelines. I think the income information is right on those flyers, as well as our independent living program grant flyer, our down payment assistance flyer, and all the many other various things that our department does for the community.
I think that a lot of people kind of overlook community development sometimes and just don't realize all of the things that the department does in the community to try to help people.
Some people don't even realize they exist.
I know, it's amazing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And this is all Pinellas County, right?
All of it's Pinellas County, yep.
Wow. So many people could get helped by this. This is... again, every month we do this.
We learn so much.
We learn so much. We're in awe. So I know that there's people listening who just could really benefit from something like this. And I'm sure you've seen so many stories of people, like you said, whose lives have been changed. And
Yeah, there's many people who just, are so grateful for the help that they've received, and you can just tell the difference that it made in their lives.
So one last thing I'm thinking, and it's just coming from my HFA side, but quick tips for people who want to contact you, paperwork maybe they should get together to have available to help them move through the process faster. Okay,
so some of the things that you'll find on our checklist of items that we'll send to you with the application would include a copy of your Florida driver's license or ID. We need the most recent 6 months worth of bank statements. We also need, if you have a job, we need a month's worth of pay stubs. If you're on Social Security disability or you have a pension, we need your award letter or your annual statement from them, and also the past 2 years' tax returns documents.
So if people have that together when they call, it makes the beginning of the process much easier.
Much, much easier. That takes a lot of time for some people to get those items together. So if you get a head start, more power to you. Get your application in just that much quicker.
Well, we only have a few moments left, so I think it's a perfect time to wrap up today's show. And it's been, again, another amazing show. I'd really like to thank our guest, Toni Rubino, with the Pinellas County Community Development and Planning Division. Thanks for listening to us on WRXB 1590 AM, 96.5 FM, and watching us on Pinellas County Connection TV. If you missed any part of this show or would like to view past shows, check out the website or YouTube. I'm Julian Hills.
And I'm Karmen Lemberg.
Thanks for tuning in, and make it a great day.